And do you think that the fact that these maybe fitness coaches can themselves from other fitness coaches who says the same thing again and again and again makes people wants to trust them more?
Well, what I love seeing is that, especially like
Yeah,
let's bring in the fitness coaching space. A fitness coach who has
yeah,
lived the journey that their ideal prospect is living right now and has succeeded and has now succeeded where they are able to have their own wellness well intact, and where they're living a very thriving, fulfilling lifestyle because they have taken charge of their wellness journey. And then they took the step beyond that to then say, I'd like to show others the same path that I went down and keep improving on that.
welcome to the New World Podcast, where we delve into the ever changing and accelerating pace of global change and its impact on our lives. I'm your host, John Paul Flores, broadcasting live from the New World Studio. Today, we're diving into the world of AI and automation. As an enthusiast and expert in lead generation, I will guide you through understanding and leveraging these technologies for your business and for your personal use. And don't forget, AI and automation might be unstoppable forces, but that doesn't mean you are powerless. Tune in to learn how to make them work for you and not the other way around. But first, let's meet our guest. Welcome to the New World Podcast, where we navigate the changing world around us. I'm your host, John Paul Flores, specializing in lead generation and AI automation, here to help you understand how our world is changing and what it means for you. In this episode, we sit down with Jon Cook, founder of Keynote Content and Advisor Story, to discuss how messaging and marketing are evolving in today's fast changing landscape. John will share his journey from cooperating for global brands to creating innovative methods like the Neurempathy Symbiotic Messaging Approach. We dive into how his companies help business coaches, consultants, and financial advisors stand out in competitive markets, as well as the future of messaging strategies in a rapidly changing world. And I know that his methods work because I can't even pronounce it. John, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
John Paul, thanks. It's great to connect with you. I appreciate the chance to be able to hop on the New World podcast, be able to have a conversation about where we're shifting as far as messaging and the kind of the ascent of AI and how we're looking at how that's impacting how people look at connection, trust, and the way that we just want to build a greater, more meaningful way in which we approach technology in a streamlined way.
By the way, before we begin in the in-depth questions, because I do have some, do you mind giving us a quick intro on who John Cook is? What's your expertise, your experiences, and what keeps you busy these days?
Absolutely. So I'm the founder of Keynote Content and Advisor Story, and we work with coaches, consultants, and advisors to help them figure out how to talk about what they do, how to differentiate themselves in their marketplace from other experts in the same space, and be able to then amplify that message to a larger audience so that you can have a greater impact, income, family name, and future.
Every journey has its own story, and I'm sure as a kid, it's not that everyone really dreams of becoming a copywriter or someone who actually makes people understand other people to what they do. You know, uh, why did you end up in your field?
Sure. Well, it's one where I want to be able to share stories with a variety of people that can help them say, if I can be able to just start into business just to make a dollar, it's only going to last so far. I wanted to make a difference beyond my bank account. I wanted to make a difference beyond just what an invoice would say. And I want to say my skill set helps people be able to get these most powerful, meaningful messages that they had that's been burning their hearts since they were kids, or for only just even the last couple of years. But they know that this can help people. I just don't know how to articulate that, and that's where I enter the equation. That's where I help people come alongside and figure out, what is it that you truly want to say? Why does it matter? What do you stand for? What do you stand against? And what's the future that you want to see? And how can we help draw people into that light so they can find the healing, the hope, the answers that they're looking for? How I got started into this was that I knew that I have this gifting, that this is a natural gifting I've been given. And I wanted to be able to use it for good and not just be able to build any type of business.
I'm sure that a lot of people or companies wants to build their brand mostly because of the monetary part of things, because the more people you draw, the more revenue you can get back. But besides that, why should someone spend time on building their brand and messaging to the point that people could be attracted to them?
Sure. Well, there's this idea of having a logo, and people say, I put together a new business, I've rebranded, I have a logo. Okay. But a logo alone is rarely, if ever, compelling enough to get people to say, do you have a card? Or how can I work with you? Or can we hop on a call next week? You want to know, in this sea of sameness that we have, there are over 330,000 different financial advisors just in the United States. Just the United States. How do you tell people I'm a financial advisor who helps this group of people be able to achieve this type of experience and do it in a way where you don't just sound like everyone else? Somebody who says, I have my CFP, or I have my series whatever number, or I have a CHFC, I have a CFA, I have a BFA, what goes, that's great. You can have all those designations. Those largely don't matter to me as an investor unless I know that those designations can help you be able to create the financial future that I'm craving right now. Because when, especially people who are in the more regulatory space, it's great to be able to add those designations behind you on your technical expertise. But what does it actually translate to as far as helping me know this is what makes you different? What makes you different than my other advisor, or the advisor before that, or even the advisor before that? That we got good results, good returns, but there's a reason why I wanted to work with you, because of how you talked about investing this way, or how you talked about why you became a financial advisor, or why you stay a financial advisor. The more we can lean into your story, your process, and the desired experience that you can deliver on for your prospects and for your clients, that's the difference maker.
Is there a case where different industries require different kind of storytelling? Maybe in this industry, this kind of storytelling works better than the other one.
Sure. Well, we're just in the financial advisory space, we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Financial advisors feel compelled to stay well within regulatory practices and parameters. They have their compliance department, OSJ, whatever you want to call them, saying, I can't really talk about client results because, of course, past performance is no guarantee or indication of future results. But what I can talk about is the clients who come to me and they say, when we first started working with, let's say, Mike as a financial advisor, when we first started working with Mike, we were all over the place financially. We didn't really have a good financial plan in place. We didn't really know what we were going to do. But Mike was able to help us figure out, what do you truly want for yourself, for your family, for your kids, for your grandkids whenever they come? And what does it look like to put a plan in place that happens to support that story? Because financial advisors come through and say, we have this product suite. We do all types of, we're a fee only fiduciary. We follow we follow this dollar cost averaging, or we do all this, all the other, whatever parlor tricks or whatever it is that different advisors talk about what they do as far as the technical side. The investment vehicle largely doesn't matter if there isn't a compelling story in which that investment vehicle can live and breathe. Largely, people don't care what fund it is, as long as it helps fulfill a story that they're desiring right now, that you can deliver on with the right fit from an investment standpoint. That's in the regulatory space, talking about financial advisors, but bringing that into maybe a not as regulated space. Let's say it's in the fitness training and fitness coaching. Yeah, there are absolute certifications and different coaching programs that can verify that somebody has the street cred to be a good, trustworthy fitness coach. But they're a dime a dozen as far as fitness coaches. How many you've, like John Paul? You've probably met well over a dozen fitness trainers or fitness coaches saying, "I can help you with this," right?
Well, probably.
Probably, right? So, what makes this fitness coach different than the next and the next and the next? Especially on the fitness coach side of things. The stories that are best to tell are the ones that, of
Yeah.
course, it's the before and after, but it's also the during. Because people
Yeah.
talk about, I love seeing the before and after pictures for fitness. Yeah, but what those before and after pictures often don't tell, if at all,
Yeah.
is what happened during those two seasons, the before and the after. What was that process like? What was that experience like? What did they go through? What are the challenges? What are the hard moments? What are the wins and the celebrations and the successes? The right fitness coach
Yeah.
who can couch that process, that whole experience and story, that's powerful.
So is based on what you said, is there cases that maybe person A is the best for the job, but person B has a better story, and people pick person B just because of the story?
Better stories
Yeah.
beat better products.
Interesting.
I'm not
Uh,
saying that's right, but that happens to be the case.
yeah.
You can have a
Especially because most of the buyers are more on the emotional side of things.
well, and let's let's be clear about the idea of like these stories that we're telling, the best stories are
Yeah.
the ones that confirm things that we know or at least hope to be true about ourselves.
And do you think that the fact that these maybe fitness coaches can themselves from other fitness coaches who says the same thing again and again and again makes people wants to trust them more?
Well, what I love seeing is that, especially like
Yeah.
let's bring in the fitness coaching space. A fitness coach who has
Yeah.
lived the journey that their ideal prospect is living right now and has succeeded and has now succeeded where they are able to have their own wellness well intact and where they're living a very thriving, fulfilling lifestyle because they have taken charge of their wellness journey. And then they took the step beyond that to then say, I'd like to show others the same path that I went down and keep improving on that. That's going to be far more compelling than somebody who does not have that personal journey. And I'm not saying you have to have a personal journey of a fitness journey to be a great fitness coach, but it means that much more. The ones who do have that great fitness journey, they can say, I walked where you walked. I had the family members who said that just shamed me and ridiculed me and wanted nothing to do with me and doubted me. And I followed this process that I created. And here's where I am right now. And I'd love to show you here's how to take that same journey, but in a better way.
Makes you relate to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I
Like we
think
love,
the fact that you can relate to them makes it so that you think that their method would work specifically just for you.
well, and anybody who comes to a website, anybody who's even listening to this, like the whole point is you want to know that's great. What will that work for me? Will this system, this program, this process, whatever might, will it work for me? Because I want to know. And secretly, we're all selfish. We're all very selfish, and that's just kind of ingrained in us. But it's I want to know that whatever it is I'm purchasing is going to give me what I believe it's going to do for me.
And you've correct me if I'm wrong. You've worked with big brands like Chick-fil-A and Dutch. Is that correct?
Yeah, and another life as
Yeah.
a senior copywriter and more of like a madman type situation. I was one who was the writing all the ad copy, all the print copy, all the digital, as it were, for large brands. So Chick-fil-A, Jeep, Chevrolet, a spinoff of Nike. I mean, a whole variety of different brands.
And with this experience, how does this compare to working with smaller companies? Because I assume that there's a lot of difference.
The difference is, of course, the ad budgets.
Yeah.
A difference is also the overall budgets. Period. But what I like is that working with people who are more of these single person or maybe have a small supportive team that's supporting you as a coach, consultant, or advisor is that you have, I still believe in the American dream. I still
Yeah.
believe in this idea of going, I can create a business that's going to help people in
Yeah.
my community and beyond and be able to do it in a way that's done right, that raises the livelihood and the lifestyle of the people that I serve, and I do it in a way where I feel good about
Yeah.
myself, to where I get to the end of my day. I have a wife and four kids,
Yeah.
and being able to spend time with them and say, I know that the work that I did today actually made a difference.
Yeah.
And when you're working with global titans, massive automobile makers, manufacturers. Of course, they want to see the return on ad spend. They want to see the
Yeah,
ROAS. They want to see the overall engagement. Say we put this together, but it's just numbers.
yeah.
Just numbers. Massive companies largely do not care about the how fulfilling and meaningful their work
Yeah,
is. And I wanted to do work that was more meaningful. I could say I feel
yeah.
great about the purpose of my work.
And personally, do you think that the bigger the company is, the more constraints you have from what you can actually do?
Yeah, when you have something massive,
Yeah,
trying to do too much out of the general direction and wake in which that brand is headed is it can be difficult. Of course, not insurmountable, of course, but it's usually when we get like, hey, here's a copy brief, or here's kind of like here's like an ad briefing or some type of campaign directive. It would say, here's what it is, here's our brand style guide, here's our brand style voice, here's how we want this to do. You have some inside like a local market, you can do some variants, as it were, especially with more kind of a franchise. You can give a little bit, but we're gonna have to sign off and rubber stamp everything. So it's the very constraining, and understandably so. They didn't get to where they got just by trying anything and just letting anything be put out there with their name on it.
but personally, do you like the fact that when you work with smaller companies, you have more freedom?
That is the whole driving factor of why I love working with people who don't have these massive companies, is because being nimble allows us to respond faster, especially with the nascent introduction of AI just in the last 2 years, I'd say. But it's one where we've seen this coming for the last 10, 15 years
Yeah,
plus. And with AI, what people are not realizing is even these global brands have been researching AI for multiple years
yeah,
and still are terrified because none of us really know the actual full capabilities of what we're creating on the AI side of things.
yeah. And I don't think people realize the fact that AI is not 3 years old. They think AI is 3 years old because ChatGPT was released by then. No,
Sure.
it's way back then. The fact is that you only see the mainstream of it 3 years ago, but it was there a very long time ago.
Absolutely. And there's this false equivocation between chat GPT does not equal AI
Yeah,
overall. It
it's
simply is
not.
an LLM inside the AI conversation.
It's a very small use case of AI.
Hmm. Incredibly
Personally,
impressive,
yeah.
but relatively small.
Absolutely. And one thing that I've been wondering my whole life, I don't want to say whole life, but for the past few years, is that how can a company actually, let's say you're doing their ads for them, how can they actually see the results when they have so much things going on the background, that how can they actually see that, hey, we did better this quarter because of this ad, or maybe because of this thing?
Sure. Well, and anytime you have a large, and I'm less concerned about the global titans that I've worked with,
Yeah,
massive brands, but I'll give you kind of some context where it's the anytime you have some type of campaign put together, any type of marketing directive, it's always tied into you. We have the metrics that are tracked by this. We
yeah,
put out these ads. These ads are tied into a reporting dashboard with the metrics tied to it, and we can see, okay, we've spent X number of thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Here's the actual sales conversions tied to it from a pixel related incident or event. That's able to show us, hey, we spent this. Here are the actual sales tied in from an actual from a Facebook pixel ad or some type of Google tracking ad,
yeah,
tracking ID that's tied to it. So we put in this, we got out this,
yeah.
less, more, way more, same. It lets us know very, very quickly how effective it is. But also, you can look at social engagement. You can look at the the
Yeah.
organic sharing that's connected to the ads.
I Do you think that some brands have, they can see the results more clearly? Because if you look at maybe a Chick-fil-A, you don't necessarily have a sales page that they can go to after they click learn more.
Correct. So it's one where, and I don't want to get too much into the weeds about this, but it's
Yeah,
the type of campaigns that are out there are very different. It's not
sure.
always like here's a direct to sale or direct to
Yeah,
consumer. Like, of course, Chick-fil-A you'd have to be able to go to the location, be able to make the purchase, that type of
Yeah.
thing. But there are there's different tracking code that is put in place so that we can tell when clicked on this, it also activated and
Yeah.
this specific type of long form URL connected
Yeah.
to that actual campaign hyper specifically.
And let's talk about your two companies because you have Keynote Content and Advisor Story. What's the difference?
Sure. Sure. Keynote content is more specifically for the coaches and consultants side of things and advisors who want to be able to get their message in front of a larger audience through like speaking opportunities, virtual summits, webinars, training workshops, that type of thing. The advisor story is more specific for advisors. There are no coaches, there are no consultants connected to it. It's specifically for wealth managers, financial advisors, investment advisors, people who are on the truly who fit that fiduciary type role.
And let's focus on Keynote Content. What inspired you to found this company?
What inspired me is that I knew that I wanted to pursue writing. I know that I wanted to not just pursue writing, but to do it in a way that allowed me
Yeah.
to make a difference, to be able to help come alongside people who have a powerful story that are maybe struggling with not knowing exactly how to talk about it, how to phrase it in a way that really resonates with what they're
Yeah.
wanting to experience. So keynote content, I said that became my platform to help people with the right stories be able to get
Yeah.
them out into the world for good.
And you've helped 1,300 people in Keynote Content, if I'm not mistaken.
Close to
How?
1,400 now. Yep.
Oh, that's incredible.
Mhm.
Congratulations. And
Thank
I
you.
want to ask, how do you ensure that they are still very unique and unique in their own way and authentic? Because I'm going to assume that most of these 1,400 are from the same field.
Great question. So specifically, if we're talking about on the financial advisor space, I've worked with coming up on about close to 300 financial advisors in their teams one-on-one. And what I like to lean into is I tell people your product suite is one of the least valuable differentiators in the marketplace. People saying, "Well, we do uh, portfolio management for IRAs and for mutuals, for CDs, and whatever. We do all these different investment vehicles or investment types. So does everyone else in your space, essentially. So how do we make the difference? What you do is the least differentiating part about your business as a financial advisor. But how you do what you do is where the true value differentiation is. That comes back to your process. For a financial advisor, if they were saying, well, we like to have an initial meeting to get a look at all of your existing financial plan or talk to you about your financial goals, and then we get your existing account statements, and then we're able to put in these different reports so that we could be able to become the advisor of record on that account. That's table stakes in the financial advisor world. Every other financial advisor does that. What other pieces can you add into that process to make it truly your own? So that part is going, how can you differentiate your process? That can be, instead of just saying, I want to meet with you to talk about financial plan, it's going, we actually take all of our clients and we go to a park. All of our clients, all of our new clients, we do a walking, talking, or a sit down meeting in a park because it's beautiful. We live in Denver. It's abundant sunshine. We like to be able to soak up the sun, be able to have some great time outdoors, so we're not stuck in a stuffy office. So we always do a sunlight meeting. That sunlight meeting, it just changed is it's different because it's not inside some type of office space, but it allows you to have a very natural, more relaxed conversation in enjoying sunlight. But then from there, it goes, what do you do from there? So you can have these different pieces in the process. So someone can say, this feels different. The way you approach investments feels different than my last guy. You can also differentiate yourself based on your story. And especially like in the financial advisory space, a lot of advisors talk about why they became a financial advisor. And the reasons are, I got my business degree, I got my finance degree, I interned at, Charles Schwab, as the coffee go for this, go for that, whatever. And I said, hey, this is a great company. I like it. It's a stable income. Those reasons are often not that compelling. You got a business degree. Great. But that doesn't do anything for me. I'm more interested in finding out, why do you stay a financial advisor? Now, many advisors became financial advisors, and why they got a business degree in finance because, well, I saw what my folks experienced growing up, how they didn't have a good financial advisor, and they made some very poor financial decisions. And because of that, I said, I want to make sure I have the right pieces in place so that my family doesn't have that same type of experience, and also that other families who trust me as their advisor, that they know they're not going to end up making poor financial decisions, that I'm going to be there with them every step of the way. And what does that look like? So, in that context, helping people find out, why do you stay a financial advisor? That's far more compelling. If you do have an origin story where, say, I saw this from my own childhood or from what happened to my good friend, my dad, or whomever it might be, that's how you differentiate yourself, even if you're in the same industry.
And is there specific people or company that you've helped that when you help them, it really left a mark on your heart, and why?
Sure. I've worked with a variety of um, people who are consultants inside the some of the injustice, some of the more unjust areas and situations around the world. Help people be able to relationship coach, be able to help women escape abusive marriages, helping people who are wanting to work with the Clean Water Initiative, people who are wanting to work with NGOs and be able to make a difference and not just be able to receive a government handout from a funding or whatnot, but they actually were able to leverage that funding to be able to get clean waters drilled in different parts of the world that don't have access to clean water. People who are disenfranchised or who are marginalized in low socioeconomic status, making sure that people who are educators can be able to go in and say, here's how we can talk about our organization in a powerful way compared to these 4 or 5 other educational support organizations that really don't have the drive and the passion and the purpose that we do. But we're able to frame our story in such a powerful way that we got the funding, and it means that we're able to make a difference in inner city LA. Smoking cessationists, people who are like working with incredible people who have made a huge difference in the human
Yeah,
trafficking evil that's around the world, and people who are not necessarily in like the more tragic and terrible situations like that, but where it's going, helping people who are wanting to
yeah,
get on the same page with their marriage and relationship.
that's amazing. And I assume that at first, since you're building your company, it's not as easy as you first thought. What's the biggest challenges that you saw?
Sure. The biggest challenge, and it's one where I see it as a welcome challenge. The biggest challenge is staying ahead of innovation, not necessarily staying up with innovation, but it's when ChatGPT came out, admittedly I said, okay, this is going to be a fad, not a fad in like it's oh, this is not going to be important. And it's going, no, everybody's going to jump on this. And people are going to recognize there's a lot more potential and there are far more implications of ChatGPT, as an example, just to pick on ChatGPT for a minute. There are far more implications and ramifications of what will happen because of this massive adoption. And John Paul, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Jurassic Park.
I did, yeah,
Yeah, okay, so Jurassic Park, classic Steven Spielberg, a theme park, dinosaurs, real
yeah,
dinosaurs. They got loose, ate people, people
yeah,
escaped. Not to ruin it for everybody, but at one point, Ian Malcolm, who's played by Jeff Goldblum, he's the physicist. He says, and he has a real concern
yeah,
during their first meal. He said, "Your scientists are so preoccupied with whether they could that they didn't stop to think whether they should." And on the AI side of things, there's a tremendous responsibility
yeah,
that we have, because for coaches, consultants, advisors,
yeah,
your audience trusts you. And when you synthesize the
yeah,
mechanisms of trust by having
yeah,
easily fabricated or easily generated content that
yeah,
is not actually flowing from your genius,
yeah,
but happens to be, then they find out, oh, this was not actually created by you. This was an AI generative piece of content. You you do believe this, but it's not at the level in which I trust you to share
yeah,
about it, or it's not at the quality in which I expect from you. So the incongruency of this experience is why trust is at an all-time low across
yeah,
every industry.
yeah.
And when we have incredible technology like AI, it is our profound responsibility to
Yeah.
leverage that in a responsible way without strip mining the trust of the people who expect us to give them the results they're looking for.
Yeah. And since ChatGPT, I've been seeing a lot of annoying content on LinkedIn. Just basically copy and paste of the same things and the same
Sure.
tone because ChatGPT wrote it.
Absolutely. And you're going, and I call it the sea of sameness. And in the sea of
Yeah.
sameness, there's been such a shift away. And that's why I love John Paul. Can we jump into this idea of
Yeah.
the other day? Somebody asked me like, "Hey, what do you think is going to be changing with AI?" And I thought about it more, and we talked through kind of the trends and what I believe is happening. I said, I'd actually like to see what will never change regardless of AI.
Yeah.
What will never change because of AI is that people crave connection.
Absolutely.
The know, like, and trust factor, that will never change.
Yeah.
People want to know also that what they have purchased or signed up for
Yeah.
is consistent with the promise given.
Yeah.
If it's a course, is this course actually going to deliver on what I believe it can do for me?
Yeah.
But then there's also this idea of people want to know that they're doing business with people.
Yeah.
That on the other end of this, it's not a machine that we want to know. Maybe it's an existential or humanistic,
Yeah.
desire, but it's the I want to know that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And the first one I believe is tied into this idea of people want to know that they're connected,
Yeah.
or people want to know that I'm doing this business
Yeah.
with other people on the other end, not just some program or bot.
Yeah. And especially if you're gonna be on a business to business side of things, even the business to
Mhm.
customer side of things, I don't think people buy because they will hear ChatGPT say, "Hey, we have the best product. We have been voted first company from 2015 to 2024. Here's the statistics on how much people have succeeded with our program." They don't care.
Mhm.
They
They
don't
don't
care.
care. They don't care.
Everybody's
Mhm.
the best.
Mhm.
Especially, yeah, almost all of the people who's reaching out to you, who's contacting you, they're the best that they do. That's what they say. But only a few people can connect with you, and you buy from them.
Well, and I would go so far as to say is it's none of our business to say we're the best.
Yeah.
It's not even up to us whether we say we're even good. It's does the track record of the people that we work with,
Yeah.
what does the data tell us? Because I can make all sorts of claims. I can screenshot all sorts of sales things. And I can do, screenshot any type of funnels or like, hey, here's a campaign, did this.
Yeah.
People telling me I worked with John and we got these results.
Yeah.
And here's how I feel about that. That is the priceless currency.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because most of the time it's not forced, it's authentic.
Hmm.
And do you think there's a lack of authenticity, especially now that we have ChatGPT?
Authenticity started getting tired from a concept standpoint about 3 or
Yeah.
4 years ago. It's like, oh, I want to be authentic. I want to be authentic, and almost like this
Yeah.
race to the bottom of being the most vulnerable. And we see, especially in the relationship coaching or the life coaching space, uh, and it's well intended because people want to know my life's not perfect too, and it's going to
Yeah.
be okay. But when you introduce a variety of generative technologies
Yeah.
that make it difficult at first glance to know, is this real?
Yeah.
It adds that much more confusion to an audience that's already asking, are you real? Are you being real?
Yeah.
Right?
Especially with the economy that we have now, we're in a distrust economy.
Hmm. Absolutely. And then the distrust economy. So if there's trust is at an all-time low, and
Yeah.
these mechanisms of trust are being absolutely hijacked
Yeah.
in the name of convenience and wanting to
Yeah.
increase your productivity,
Yeah.
what does it look like to zig when others are zagging.
Yeah.
If people are leaning into ChatGPT, if people are leaning into these automations, if people are
Yeah.
wanting to streamline in this, in the, they say in the spirit of optimization and maximization, in which it translates to just laziness.
Yeah.
Um, and this is coming from somebody who uses AI every day. And I like the convenience of it. I like the convenience of being able to say that it actually does optimize
Yeah.
and maximize what I'm doing. But when we lean into it so far that we let convenience
Yeah.
do some of the necessary heavy lifting
Yeah.
of the work we're called to, it changes the experience for everyone in your audience, everyone in your list. So I like going, I'm in the process of removing autoresponders
Yeah.
and chatbots off of my website, and I'm doing less text messages. I'm doing more video messages to
Yeah.
people. I'm lifting up my phone and I'm recording a video message to respond to a LinkedIn connection.
Yeah.
I'm sending, this is just off the cuff. Hey, it's great to connect with you. I look through your profile a little bit, and which tells me this video here is right here. I just sent this, and it took me 60
Yeah.
seconds to look at your profile. Ask myself some good questions, maybe go to your website, check it out. But then I can make comment about here's what I saw, this, and this.
Yeah.
And I'd like to learn more about where you're at with business and where are you wanting to go this next year.
Yeah.
Send me a message. You can send a video back. You can send a text message. You can voice message. You can give me a call.
Yeah.
Well, the whole point is I want to connect with you as a human.
Yeah. It's amazing. And especially with those type of things, people, even that fact of just sending video message, they even want to
Mhm.
automate that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and because it's convenient, it's
Yeah.
easy.
One thing that I hate about automation and AI, and I'm not saying that I don't use it. I use it every day, as just like you, and I think
Mhm.
most people do. The one thing that I hate is that once you automate most of the manual process that you usually had to do before, instead of, let's say, your main task is copywriting, instead
Mhm.
of going on your table and trying to write something meaningful, there's a thought in your mind that just says, instead of doing that work, just try and learn how to automate it. And that
Mhm.
hinders how you actually do your work, because instead of you coming from standpoint of I want to pour everything from my heart to this work, you just, there's some part of it that says, why you do the work?
Mhm.
And I think
Well, and
that sucks.
yeah, and I agree with that because what we're doing is we're stealing the fire of inspiration from ourselves. And we're going to the fire of, we're trusting the fire or the origin of inspiration from this man made machine, as it were. And what that does is that removes this intrinsic part of what makes us so special as a species is that we are innately creative. We are innately curious. And when you start to basically chloroform your curiosity and your creativity and you trade that away for convenience, it starts to dull your ability to think for yourself. It dulls your ability to chase wonder, to be curious, to lean into opportunities and say, if I can figure this out, if I can wrap my mind around this, then I can own this experience more. I can't own a piece of content that ChatGPT came out of because I didn't give my brain the necessary reps to create that content myself. And that's where we have also the other side of that sword is that we can also use incredible technologies like ChatGPT. I want to be very clear. I'm not against ChatGPT. I'm not against AI in principle because we have an incredible opportunity to leverage this technology to accentuate our creativity. To say, where does that found now? That's found in you being the one coming up with your own prompts. Stealing prompts, that's it's not that interesting. It's not that creative at all. But if you can learn what you found in the prompts to create your own prompts and train yourself to say, how can I leverage this technology to accentuate my creativity? That's powerful.
Absolutely. And the fact that you can just learn how to write a specific prompt, and that prompt basically gives you the ability to do everything that you don't need to learn is amazing.
Absolutely.
Now, I remember one time, I think a few months ago, instead of me just responding to people, I just created an automation that basically responds and follow ups with a person via email, and that worked tremendously. And I think the only thing that made that work is the fact that you can make sure that the AI writes in a way that you write, and the
Absolutely.
prompt takes a lot of work.
Well, and there is also this idea of, and people have been leaning to this for well over a year now, but
Yeah,
it's one where if you want to create essentially your AI assistant, training it to sound like you, it takes work.
yeah,
Absolutely. But once you have it in place, you can be able to have it as kind of a librarian
yeah,
and a curator of your intellectual property, to where it's not then tasked with creating the content yourself, but more as the when show me all references when I mentioned that I was on the New World podcast with John Paul Flores, and then it can give here's a breakdown of all the posts and the list and the email that's sent out to my team, that whatever it might be. And by cataloging it, it gives you tremendous power as opposed to the where did I stick that file? Is it in Google Drive? I don't know.
personally, are you scared by the fact that we basically have no privacy anymore?
It's one where I'm not ready to buy
Yeah,
this idea that privacy is extinct.
yeah,
It's far rarer than ever before in history.
yeah,
But what it does is that it allows us to say, at one point, are we going to draw the line
yeah,
and say, this is not an area that needs to be invaded?
yeah,
Because to a certain extent, privacy is also part of what makes us personable.
yeah,
You meet someone new on the street or at a happy hour, coffee, whatever it might be, a different dinner.
yeah,
There is something valuable about asking questions for yourself and not just
yeah,
having all this information pop up. Oh, it's John Paul Flores. He's the founder of this. He's the host of this, this,
yeah,
this, this, this. Okay. Because what it does is it strips the context of
yeah,
why each pieces of that matter to you.
yeah, and removes the soul out of things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Before we get out of the AI topic, because we dove into it so far, I had a guest named Agjomi, and I think one of the most interesting things that we've discussed is that most times in history where we managed to optimize something, something had to go wrong.
Hmm.
For example, more on this recent trend of the food industry. We had a problem that we basically were starving and people were dying because we had no agriculture. But when we discovered it, a lot of people became obese. Now we're trying to optimize it in a way that people will become the healthiest they can be. The problem is that we first had to go through the most extreme moment where a lot of people became obese, that there's a lot of problem there. What
Hmm.
if it happens with AI? Let's say we first had to, learn how to use AI and build it in a way that it can suppress people's imagination. Well, what if we go to the point that it causes a lot of problems, but unlike the food industry, we're unable to correct it because it became so powerful?
I'm glad you mentioned that because the conversations I've been having with people is going, um, the difference between highly processed food and organic food, same concept,
Yeah,
is that why did highly processed food become so popular? And
yeah,
I like a good slice of, whatever, or a handful of a pizza pockets on a Friday night watching a game or something like that. Okay, I like that just as much as the next guy. But we know what highly processed food is doing to our bodies:
yeah,
diabetes, heart disease, overall sluggishness, obesity, and just down the line,
yeah,
cognitive decline. We know what it's doing.
yeah,
And so there's been a much needed shift into more of a whole foods understanding
yeah,
and how people approach food as a wellness cycle and not as simply as a meal for sustenance.
Yeah.
And if we were to wind the clock back to how did highly processed food become so popular? Because it was cheap
Yeah.
and it tasted good. Still tastes good. Let's not lie about that. Ice cream tastes amazing. But what is highly generative content via AI doing to our mechanisms of trust?
It's cheap and it works good.
And it tastes good, right? It's cheap, it
Right.
tastes good, but what is it? There's an erosion aspect that it's having
Yeah.
on these mechanisms of trust. There's this um, there is this numbing of our creativity, as we already talked about.
Yeah.
But I believe that I'm with you as well. If we have good regulation in place
Yeah.
that is mindful of how we're wired as humans,
Yeah.
and we have better parameters in place, because if we don't have healthy parameters in place, AI will destroy
Yeah.
generations.
Absolutely.
Unbridled AI will destroy generations, but correctly
Integrating it.
utilized AI can grow society in the future civilization
Yeah.
unlike anything ever before.
Yeah. And the fact is that we have this great infrastructure, especially let's talk on the agriculture side of things, just because
Mhm.
of the fact that we have AI on those sectors.
Absolutely.
That's great use of it.
Hmm. Well, and where the biggest opportunities, I believe, are in the innovation of technology.
Yeah.
Using AI, my wife had to have her gallbladder removed. A robot did the surgery.
Yeah.
The doctor happened to be just standing there while the robot performed the surgery, which is incredible. Three incisions, removed a distended gallbladder.
Yeah.
Incredible to have that type of surgery. And in the same type of way, it's going, the doctor is there fully trained to know how to run the machine and is capable of seeing. And so it's the more that we can have AI as an accentuation
Yeah.
of our potential as humans, the stronger it will be.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think we should use it in a way that it enhances the best from us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And let's talk back with your methodologies. You have, let me just read this right. Neurempathy Symbiotic Messaging Approach, and the Expert Message Approach, and the other one, the Advisor Story Model. What's the difference of these methods, and who can they help, and how does it help?
Absolutely. So we'll start with the neuropathy,
Yeah.
whole person symbiotic messaging approach. Because if you've sat in any type of conference or you've listened to any type of speaker, a speaker will share a powerful story. And you go, oh, it's great. It's amazing. And then you go, oh, that was so good. It's like, okay, great. What was it about? Um, I don't know, but I still remember the story about the dog on the tanker. Okay. So you can have the emotional connection, but there's not the
Yeah.
cognitive activation as saying, do this next. But how many speakers have you said, like, here's incredible information? They gave it to you and going, wow, this is dense. This is like eating cheesecake. It's a lot of great information.
Yeah.
And I'm writing down notes. But now I've got a notebook full of notes, but I don't have any type of fire or inspiration to act on those notes. It's good from a value of the content, but it's not compelling from the context of why that content matters. So, if we were to look at how a speaker communicates with their audience, you don't have to choose between having an emotional connection and having a cognitive connection with your audience. You can be able to pair the power of cognitive recognition with the connection of a powerful story and bring that together using neuroscience and empathetic messaging to know, if I know exactly what my audience is craving right now, what do they really want? And then I can be able to understand how to frame my offer, my program, my course, my whatever it might be. Frame it in a way that says, I'm here to help you take the best step forward because I believe that you want this. And we can start to articulate what our audience is wanting, maybe in a way that they've never even thought of, or in a way that they didn't even realize that they needed, but doing it in a way that's responsible and helps them understand, I I know what you're thinking and I know what you want. And I like to help you have the experience that you're craving right now. And it happens to be through this program, this course, this coaching, whatever it might be. So that's the neuropathy side of things, combining neuroscience and empathetic messaging. Now, the expert elevation method is what we have. This is kind of our proprietary process with Keynote content, and we focus on your mission, then your message, and then your market. And the expert elevation method is truly about saying, why do you do what you do? Why does it matter? What makes you different from everybody else in your space? Who are the people that you want to serve? Why does this even matter to them? And then how does your expertise make you stand out? That's in your mission. We have that as kind of the anchor of how you show up with the world, the lens through which you see opportunities and say yes or no to them. But then we put together a powerful message that is built with your ideal client as the hero in their story, and you can help them go on this heroic client journey from where they are to where they want to be. And then from there, we say, then we have, with that strong purpose in place, we have a powerful message. And then from there, we have a way to amplify that message to a larger audience through content, through social media, through speaking opportunities. Mission, message, market. That's the expert elevation method.
And that's amazing. And let's
Thank
say
you.
I want to make it that what you said could be used by anyone who's listening. Let's say most companies or most people nowadays have websites.
Mhm.
And let's say with those methods, how would you build a perfect website? What structure or format would the website have? Is the messaging first here? Is the story here? What would that potential look like?
Yeah. I like to look at you're bringing in the focus being on your client first. What are they? I like asking, why are you here? Somebody lands on your website. Why are you here? And the whole concept of websites also is changing because of the zero click search query experiences that we have in place now with Google, which is a whole nother experience due to AI. But if somebody comes to your website, I like asking, why are you here? And then who are we, or you as an individual, from an expertise standpoint that can help you get to where you want to go? Because you landed here hoping that's going to be the next step on your journey. And it's my job to help you know you've come to the right place and this is the right direction. Let me show you how.
So
So
basically, first we ask them why they're actually here, and we show them who we are.
we validate why they're here.
Yeah,
So if somebody shows up and they're saying, hey, I landed on your website, it says johnpaulflores.com. Hi, I'm John Paul Flores. I'm an investor. I'm a podcast host. This. It's making it all about yourself.
yeah,
But if somebody shows up and they're going, and right across the banner, it says,
yeah,
this is your chance to navigate AI technology
yeah.
in a responsible, profound way. And I can show you how. Hi, I'm John Paul Flores, and I'm,
That's clever.
thank you.
I want to read that. And since we're nearing the end of the podcast, I want to ask you, for anyone, for any industry who's asking, how can they, step by step, how can they write their own story?
Absolutely. I like looking at where you are, position yourself as the guide, because even whether whatever your industry is, it's not our job to be the hero. It's our job to be the guides. So somebody who wants to work with you, they want this heroic experience. How you write your story is going, here is here's what I do for people. People come to me and they ask me to help them. They usually come to me and they're in this type of current state. So we call it their ordinary world. But where do they want to be? And that's their extraordinary world. And between these two worlds is this massive chasm or gap that these amazing people are saying they're stuck. They don't know how to get to where they want to go. And the road looks daunting, or the gap seems too far, or it seems like it's completely out of reach. And that's where I help you bridge these two worlds. And how I can tell my story is going, I was in that ordinary world where you are right now, maybe not even that long ago. I felt this way. And you probably feel that way right now. But what I found is that if I found this process or this way to get me from that ordinary world where you're stuck right now to this extraordinary world, I've been there myself. I can show you what it looks like. I can tell you from personal experience, this is what that feels like. What's different? And I'm so grateful I never have to deal with again because I'm not stuck back in that ordinary world. But coming back to connect with you in that ordinary world and show you here's the way forward every step of the way.
That's amazing. And I want
Thank you.
to go through with you with a exercise of some sort. Let's say you are building somebody's story, but you don't know their story. You're just gonna have to write their story in a way that typically would resonate with their audience, because we know who the audience is, but we don't know the story, so that people can
Sure.
actually try and use this for themselves. We're gonna do it in a traditional way and a non-traditional company. So first, a traditional company. Let's say you have a law firm and they help people with immigration law. How would you write their story?
Why does immigration matter to the person who's reading this? Because it's not about to me about what, because I see the value of immigration. It's going,
Yeah,
immigration is of course, incredibly hot topic right now.
yeah,
But immigration is the idea of better,
yeah,
because what compels or drives somebody to leave where they were to immigrate to a new place? The belief that tomorrow can be better here than it was yesterday there. Why does immigration matter? Because there needs to be some healthy rules in place.
yeah,
I mean, if we were to look just at the U.S. immigration chaos and fiasco of that,
yeah,
it should be so much easier from a process standpoint to help people who are wanting to enter the United States with good intent
yeah,
to be able to do it much easier, to be able to remove many of the just bureaucratic um, boundaries that are in place that are absolutely unnecessary,
yeah,
because good families, good individuals are wanting to come into the United States to create a better future. And we need to welcome in people with good intent who want to experience a better life. And shame on us for standing in the way of people who want to create that future and
yeah,
contribute to what America can continue to be, I mean, even better.
yeah,
So on the lawyer side of things, it's going helping families with immigration challenges, with
yeah,
people who are wanting to look at immigration scenarios. It's going, we help you be, essentially, we love being the first friendly face that you
yeah,
see in your new home, helping you know if this is, everything is new here, everything is different. There might be some shades of similarities,
yeah,
but you want to know who I can trust. And you also want to know that your family's going to be safe, not just safe from harm, but safe from ramifications and legal problems. So, us being able to say, we help new families
yeah,
in the US find the safety and support that they need to
yeah,
create the future they want without the fear of law.
yeah. That's such a good way to put it.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
let's go with a non-traditional company. Let me think of something. Since we're in a podcast, let's say there's a company that helps medium-sized businesses uh, launch and produce a podcast on a steady basis. How can this company that helps produce podcasts communicate itself that, hey, you need us, to those companies?
Sure. Well, how much time does it take to produce a podcast episode yourself? John Paul, like if when you're first starting out, you probably edited a lot of your own podcasts, or you've seen that process.
Yeah, personally, with everything, it takes around 6 hours minimum.
Okay, 6 hours minimum. And those are 6 hours
Yeah,
that you're not able to spend making better memories with the people closest to you.
yeah,
6 hours you're not able to spend actually improving your craft as an interviewer.
yeah,
6 hours that you're not able to spend doing what you truly want to do to amplify the reach of your podcast.
yeah,
For a podcast production company, they're not producing podcasts,
yeah,
they're trading you back time.
yeah,
They're day trading your time for podcast production.
yeah.
They happen to do that with helping you get the podcast edited in a way that you're proud of.
What if we focus on basically putting it that, hey, if you have convincing these companies that they should have a podcast?
Sure. What can a podcast do for you
Yeah,
that anything you're trying right now cannot? And it gives this idea of connection.
yeah,
Now there are a variety of different, AI technologies like 11 Labs and a few others, or even like a HeyGen, where it
Yeah,
allows you to essentially clone your voice. I've cloned my voice with 11 Labs, and that's an incredible technology. But I try not to use that
yeah,
for too much client-facing content. I try not to even use it that much with how I'm seeing and engaging with the world around me, because when we start to do that,
yeah,
people say, again, it's the eroding of the mechanisms of trust. But for a podcast with you and I sitting here,
yeah.
not in the same room, not in the same state, probably. Um, what we're doing is we're essentially we are creating connection inside the context of a conversation that we can't fabricate to nearly the same extent with AI, nor should we.
Yeah.
So for somebody who's wondering, what does a podcast do for me? Is that podcast gives you a constant platform for people to know this is somebody I can trust
Yeah.
in an area where I need help, and it's done in a way that makes sense to me.
Oh man, it's an incredible way. And I love
Thank
that
you.
I'm putting examples that are very bizarre and you still have an answer for it.
Well, I appreciate that.
And since we're nearing the end of the podcast, do you have any advice on life?
On the advice on life is put your dang phone down, people. For the people listening, somebody's. And I just like talking to, like, hey, John Paul, you and I have been having this conversation. But for the person who's listening in on this, you're listening to this on your phone,
Yeah.
and you're probably on the go somewhere, maybe running at the gym, running through the airport to get to your flight at LaGuardia, trying to go all these different places. And there's something to be said about the value of connection with the people close to us without pixels included. FaceTime in person as opposed to FaceTime on the phone is so much better. Putting down the technology, allowing yourself to say, in this surging adoption of AI, there's something about breathing and being in the same room of people that are close to you without our faces glued to our phones.
And what's your thoughts on work-life balance? Because it has been a huge debate for a long time now.
I like the idea of work life blend,
Yeah.
because if you were to take and say, I want to make a strawberry banana smoothie, I'm not going to take 14 strawberries and 14 bananas.
Yeah.
I'm going to take one banana and 14 strawberries. This idea of work is a necessary um, it's a necessary part of who we are existentially as humans. Why we were made to work, why we're here to work, is to create something of meaning and value, and happen to be compensated for it. That's meant to be a large rock in our lives, a large piece of our lives. But there is something about the other key parts in our lives. We can integrate or blend the other key pieces in our life. Like for me, I work from home almost every day. My kids know that, hey, they can knock on my door, and if I say yes, they can walk on in, they can sit on my lap, we can talk, have a conversation, hear about their day, read a book together, that type of thing. And not everybody has that luxury. I get that. But creating intentional space inside your schedule and inside your mind to make the moments that matter.
And that's an amazing advice because some people they want to do it in a way that they have so much constraint on how much work and how much life they need to get to the point that they don't even get to actually enjoy it.
Sure, sure. I was just speaking with the guy he's a wealth management uh, um, he's a wealth management advisor. Just speaking 2 nights ago, and he was talking about. He goes, I and we're I think I want to be able to take this adventure. I said, okay. So when are you going to do that? He goes, well, when I hit the revenue mark, when I know that's where I want to be. I said, okay. So you want to pursue, and he really wants to do is he wants to be able to buy some property and be able to have horses and that type of thing. I said, okay. I said, so what's that mark? He told me, he said, when I reach my $20 million net worth, I know that I can be able to I'll be able to have the freedom to be able to get that property and have horses. I said, so you mean to tell me that your revenue capability is the driving factor on the timeline for your dreams? Why can't you pursue that now and adapt your life around your dream as opposed to adapting your life around your revenue? And he got quiet. He got very quiet.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything, and he just nodded and said, "Hey, thanks." And then he walked off.
Oh man, that hit home run.
Mm.
And since we're over an hour now, man, the conversation, it was amazing. Where can
Thank
people
you.
find you?
Absolutely. So what you can do is you can head over to keynotecontent.com. I got a couple different treats and gifts, as it were, for people wanting to check it out. Keynotecontent.com, you'll be able to see a variety of different courses we're introducing, people who are wanting to take your message, be able to amplify it to a larger audience, figuring out here's how to talk about what you do. All those pieces are in place. You can go ahead and find that at keynotecontent.com. You can reach out to me on any social at Keynote Content, KEYNOTE content. And I will likely respond with a voice message or even a video.
It's amazing. And again, John, thank you for joining me on the New World podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, John Paul. I'm excited to see how this continues to go out. I appreciate the conversation.
That's all for today's episode of the New World podcast. We have explored some fascinating topics with our amazing guests, shedding light on the upcoming New World. If you enjoyed today's episode and today's discussion and want to stay updated on the future episodes, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to the podcast. And if you found value on what we have discussed, please consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Remember, if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, or if you are interested in being a guest in the future, please feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn or email me at john.paul@aicinix.com and add New World Podcast, all capital, in the subject line so I can see it. I always love hearing from our listeners. And don't forget to check out our amazing guests. You can find more information about them by the contact details we provided earlier. Again, thank you for tuning in on the New World Podcast. I know your time is very important, and I try to always make the next episode better than the last. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, keep innovating. This is John Paul Flores signing off from the New World Podcast.